In all my travels, I've noticed that there is one man in American society who is the least valued of all men, and that person is the decent black man. Of all the people in the world, in America, that they have a value and a purpose, and in the black community, almost every person in black society is valued in one way or the other except decent, well-educated, intelligent black men. They are literally the pariahs of the black community. And the main reason why they are the pariahs of the black community is because they do not fit within the mold of white supremacy. And white supremacy has no place for a decent, intelligent black man because he does not fit the stereotypes that your friend, the white liberal, has created for black men to fit in. And because he does not fit the mold and pretty much refutes all of his arguments regarding black men, he can't find a place for him to fit into his job market, really. So a lot of decent black men, like myself, struggle to make an existence for themselves, and they have to wind up starting businesses and doing for self because we do not fit within the mold of white supremacy has for black men. Um, because the white liberal really wants a black man who fits a certain narrative. It's not about college education. It's not about skills. Because I was on two jobs where because I have a college degree and I have skills. And in both cases, in one case, I was told they had no place for me. And in another case, I had a manager. This was the library I worked at 5 years ago, who came to me at a performance evaluation in spite of doing a very good job, told me he was looking for somebody with a sales and a customer service background. Now, this type of statement, when you make this type of statement during a performance evaluation, you're basically telling the person that they're fired. And it's basically not, it wasn't about the work performance, it wasn't about the skill set. It was basically, I'm uncomfortable with because I had one of these coworkers ask me, "Are you comfortable on the job?" And I looked at that question and I said, "There's something wrong here." Because nobody really cares about you being comfortable on the job. And what I realized was they weren't comfortable with me, and it took me a while of watching different videos like Dan Freeman's classic, is no longer up here anymore, Threatening Black Man, to understand what they were uncomfortable about. And what they were uncomfortable about was the fact that I was a educated, professional black man who did not fit within the stereotype mold. Because this is what, and again, this was a white liberal environment. My supervisor was a Jewish white liberal individual, and he did not want to talk to me. He actually appointed my coworker as my supervisor to avoid talking to me and to avoid dealing with me, and he sent all of his instructions through her. And the whole thing is that he just did not like the idea of a black man who could function, who come to work and do his job and be responsible. The whole idea of the decent black man to them, they did not like it because they could not fit you into a box. They can't fit you into a stereotype. And this was something that I was walking around the job one day. This was a public college in Harlem. I'll just say the name. It was City College of New York. And I was just walking around, and I'm noticing that all of the black men on the job all fit this stereotype. You know, there was either this simp or this coon or this Uncle Tom. And if you didn't fit the stereotype, people did not have they became uncomfortable. And also, in the job I had about 14 years ago when I was working at Stripe, again, most of the black males fit the stereotype. They all fit within this white liberal's narrative. And if you do not fit the narrative, people have a problem with you because they consider you a loose cannon, they consider you unpredictable, and they don't know what to expect of you because usually you can predict the pattern of the individuals I have discussed to the letter. You can pretty much predict how they're going to behave on a job. And when it comes down to your, I'm going to go through them all four of them. When it comes to your Uncle Tom, what he's going to do is he's going to um, brown nose to management. He's going, especially white managers. He's going to make excuses for white managers. He's going to tell people what they want to hear, and he's going to start trying to undermine the man in front of him and the man behind him. And more importantly, what this Uncle Tom is going to do is he's going to make sure that no other especially black men, wind up on a job. He's the type of guy who will use the job, again, he will use different qualifications to hire a white person or a non-black person in a job. He is not going to make an active effort to help out another black person. Now, that's your Uncle Tom. That's why he's considered valuable to any organization in America, any job in America. What your simp is going to do on a job in a job in America is corporate America is your simp. The reason why white supremacy likes him is because he's going to take his money, the way he spends his money. And what the simp is going to do is he's going to spend half his time on the job chasing women on the job, trying to get dates, trying to get phone numbers. He's going to see the secretary or the receptionist. He's going to start flirting. Because I've seen this too. And what your simp is going to do is he's going to take he takes his paycheck and he blows it on rims and tires and expensive cell phones and designer clothes. And he really is not a performance-oriented individual. He's a workplace peacock. And he comes in, he's flirting with the women at work, he's buying expensive clothes and buying expensive shoes. And this is the guy who will steal your lean cuisine out of the refrigerator because he just spent his entire paycheck on a suit or a shirt, or he just spent all his money in a club somewhere, taking some chick out to some restaurant, blowing all his money. And the reason why corporate America likes a simp is because they get a 99.9% return on investment on this guy. And whenever he's there, they know that they're going to get all their money back. And the same thing with the Uncle Tom. They're going to get all their money back. These guys are not about group economics, and they're not about looking out for anyone. And in the case of the simp, he's so busy. He's so busy chasing women, he cannot think about doing anything quality on the job. He's not caring about the company or the standards of the company. This is the type of idiot who will sit around doing favors for women in the workplace, women co-workers. This is the guy who will sit there, and he'll have his own assignment. He'll go do the woman's work first, and then half do his work, and then barely get by. And what this guy does with his workplace tricking is and then eventually what he does is he makes a mess. And then he just sits there and he's just chasing women. He's no threat to anyone. And usually he's easier to fire because eventually his indiscretions with these women and his favors blow up in his face. Because this is the guy, he'll do reports for women, and it's all to get points in the hopes that he'll get laid. And eventually it all blows up in his face. And what happens is this guy winds up getting a sexual harassment lawsuit or accusations of sexual harassment, and management fires him. Now, the third individual that corporate America is comfortable with is this coon. And you usually know this coon in the workplace because he's the guy walking around in the sagging pants. He's the guy who's going to try to be real and try to be street. Or he's just a loudmouth guy. He usually works in the mailroom. Sometimes he works in an office. He's the guy, if he does work higher up in the office, he's wearing gaudy ties, gaudy suits. He's a loudmouth. He's a big talker. I mean, your simp is a talk. Yeah, your simp is a big talker, but usually he's a big talker to women. This guy, he wants to show that he's the boss. He's loud. He's obnoxious. And he's in the workplace. He's just cooning. He's a workplace coon. He's the guy who goes along with all the nigger jokes. He goes along to get along. He tells, and the whole thing is he comes out. He's a big bully with black coworkers because he wants to be the head Negro in charge. But when white people come around, this is the first guy to start buck dancing and cooning and telling white people, "Whatever you say, Mr. Charlie. Whatever you say, sir. I'll make sure it gets done." He's as docile, and he becomes docile and submissive. And this is what the coon is. And when he's around black people, he's a big bully. He's making threats. He's talking about, "I'm gonna get somebody fired. I'm gonna get you fired. I'm gonna get you suspended. I'm gonna have you terminated. If this isn't done by such and such," he's throwing things at people. He's making all sorts of insane threats. And this is what the coon is. And the whole thing is that when these three individuals are in a corporate setting, in a business setting, I won't even say corporate setting, in a business setting, white people feel comfortable because they know that all three of these individuals are no threat. And because they know that they're no threat, they know they won't have to worry about them, learning skills and then talking about building their own business, building their own enterprise, trying to hire other black people, trying to diversify the workplace. And because these individuals are there, no decent black man can get through. And this is what I've learned from my own personal life experiences in different jobs, is that there is no place for a decent black man in corporate America or in American business, and that you have to get your own business. Now, I had my own publishing thing on the side, the SJS Direct, and it had to become my main business because of my experiences with corporate America, this backstabbing, this infighting, and just people, especially black people, looking for a way to get ahead with their white liberal slave masters. And what they want to do is they will throw other black people up under the bus so they can have the position of head Negro in charge. And I had this happen to me, again, 14 years ago and just 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I had this happen when I was working the counter at this library, just trying to raise funds to start my publishing thing, because it was a very good civil service job, and I had this plan of publishing my books on the side and working this job and this civil service job, because I work hard to get this civil service job. And I come there one day, and a kid comes up and asks for a chemistry book, and I think one of the student co-workers, I let them go get the book, and I take a minute to look down at the counter to think about something, and then all of a sudden I get this accusation. This black woman comes to me with this accusation. The co-worker I was working with says, "You were sleeping and you had your eyes closed." Now, I wasn't sleeping, but they used this accusation as a way to get me terminated from this job. Now, I wasn't sleeping at all. I was just looking down for a second, and then I looked back up. She's walking up to me telling me that I'm sleeping, and I'm standing up. Now, I'm standing up here, and it is impossible to sleep standing up. Your body will literally fall down. I've done the research on this, and it is impossible for you to do this, but this is the accusation this professor makes, and he puts it in a write-up. He puts it in a report, and he ships it out. And again, I lose a good civil service job because of these type of individuals doing this type of stuff. And it was one of the most disturbing things I've ever had run into, and I never thought there were black people like this until that experience, that experience and the one I had 14 years ago. And then I started listening to other people on YouTube talk about this type of thing, and then I realized there were more people like this, and that there is no place for a decent black man just trying to make a living, trying to take care of himself, and trying to build something, because White supremacy has no place for decent black men. And the main reason why they don't have a place for decent black men is because they don't want them there because they don't fit the stereotype, and they make white people uncomfortable because it represents an idea that there are people out here who don't fit this mold that the white liberals created for black people to fit in. And because people don't fit that mold, they have to find a way to eliminate them or to prevent them from going out and showing that this idea is a reality, that this type of black man functions, that this type of black man exists. They need the minstrels, they need the coons, they need the idiots, and it makes white people feel comfortable because it puts them in their place of superiority. When you have these type of individuals, they validate every stereotype white supremacists want to see about black people, not what black people actually are. And I can tell you from personal experience, it makes it very hard for a black man like myself to find work in the American job market, because if you don't fit the stereotype, nobody's going to want you around, black or white. And this is what I found. Not just white people who don't want you around, there will be other black people who don't want you around, because your values are not goose-stepping and lock-stepping in with their black matriarchal fascist orders. Because again, black matriarchy is a fascist state, and if you do not follow their fascist orders there and follow this stereotype to the letter, they will also have no place for you. So the decent black man is stuck, and it's a very hard thing to do, because you have to struggle and you have to make your own living and you have to make your own existence, because there is no place for a black man in corporate America and even some parts of the black community. I mean, you will be shunned by your own community, and especially because this is a matriarchy and they don't like the idea of black men as leaders who follow God's natural order. They don't like that at all, because the matriarchy wants people who reflect the views of the matriarchy, which is this simp, this coon, this Uncle Tom. And they don't want that. That's the type of black man they are comfortable with, because he fits the stereotype. They don't want the decent black man, because the decent black man makes everybody uncomfortable, because they think that they know that he's totally unpredictable. He's going to follow his own way. He's going to try to build things. He's going to try to establish a life for himself, and he's going to do what needs to be done to build himself a life. And the whole thing is that runs counter to the economy that has been established by white supremacy in America for the black community, and it runs counter to the American economy. The whole idea is white supremacy needs codependent black people in order for it to function. When you have codependent black people who will participate in this shuck and jive, blame and shame game where they remain victims, it benefits white supremacy, because if those black people become independent and free thinking, start talking about building businesses, that takes money out of white supremacy's pocket. If they start talking about building infrastructure on their own, that takes money out of white supremacy's pocket. That takes money out of their community, out of their economy. And it also takes money out of these non-black business owners, these foreign-owned corner stores, these hair salons, these nail salons. It takes all that money out of their community, and it prevents them from because you're taking their vacation money, their house money. You keep their kids from going to college. They do all that with the black dollar. And if you start thinking like a decent black person, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I'm going to just work these jobs just as a way towards building my own business, they don't have a place for you, because you're not going to make them money. They're not going to get profit off of you, and they're not going to be able to exploit you. And from my experiences, it's just going to be, when it comes to the job market, it's just a struggle when you're a decent black man, because you're most likely to be fired. over the least arbitrary of reasons. While this coon can come in here 40 minutes late, 30 minutes late, this shine will show up anytime they feel like. They will come back from lunch an hour late. And there's a reason why, and this guy will literally, this guy or this black female will literally get away with this stuff. They will argue with people, they will threaten people, they will attack people, and these people will not be allowed to keep their job. And I've seen it happen myself in the jobs that I've had. These shines will just sit there and they'll just be there and doing all sorts of stuff. I mean, using company postage, using company supplies, and the managers will just sit there and they'll just take it from them because they'll sit there and laugh at their nigger jokes. They'll sit there and they'll buck dance. They'll sit there and they'll coon. They'll sit there and do whatever they're told. But the decent black man who is responsible and conscientious, there is no place for him in any of these jobs. And this is one of the reasons why I urge more black people to get their own businesses, because this environment, there again, I keep saying this again and again because I want people to understand, there is no place for you there. And if you're a decent black man like myself, who just wants to work and just wants to do a good job, nobody's going to care about your performance, because in both of my jobs that I had in business settings, people praised my work. They said it was good work. They said it was rock solid. But their issues had to do with values. And if your values are not lockstep with white supremacy, there is not going to be a place for you in their business. What they're looking for is an obedient servant, just like the ones from slave times, just like the ones in Jim Crow. A shuffling, buck dancing, silent coon who will just sit there and make everybody white feel superior, and make some of these black women and some of these black people, because there's some black men out there too, black men and black women, feel superior about their position. And these people are severely insecure. I believe some of them have mental health problems, because again, this is all part of the codependency issue that many black people have. And what we don't see it as decent black men, we have to see it as what it is. These people have some sort of mental disorder, or they're just so brainwashed by white supremacy that they cannot think independently or freely for themselves. And the only way to deal with these type of individuals is to divest yourself from them, start your own businesses, build your own infrastructure like I have. I'm trying to build my own business, and this is what I've been trying to do for the last 6 years after I lost my job. I've been trying to build something of my own so that I can have a way to make a living for myself, because there is no way you can really make it in a corporate setting because of the way people are mentally conditioned to think about black people, and especially about black men. And the reason why I tell black men to do this is because this is the only way you're going to survive in the world. And I'm urging you to start as early as possible. Start your own businesses. Start your own ventures. If you have to take a job, just take a job until you can get enough skills and experience and contacts to start your own thing. But most of all, after you start your own thing, please start looking out for other decent brothers in the community and start taking care of them, because they're going to need jobs, they're going to need a place to make a living, and they're going to need support. And that's one thing that black men have to start doing, is start supporting each other, because you have to understand, you're not going to get support from this black woman from anybody else out here. And as long as we keep acting like crabs in a bucket, nothing is going to change. You're just going to wind up with one poor black man struggling like myself to build something on their own, when we all have to start working together. Because it's only with a group of black men are we going to be able to take our own lives and take control of our lives and really start doing things, because there is no way you can do things with the current state of the black community. You have to start building a counter black community. Now that's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.